So, hi, Anna.
Hi, Christina.
And hi, Satyen.
Hey,
Hey.
Christina.
We have a very special guest with us today that we are so excited to have. We have Satyen Raja here, and we are so excited to get into a conversation with you today, Satyen, about the divine feminine and the divine masculine. So, welcome to this spiritual fix.
Thank you so much. I'm looking forward to share and enjoy my time with both of you and all who are listening.
Yes. So,
Thank you.
yeah, so to give all our listeners context as to why we have invited Satyan here, we are I when I first I did work with Suzanne Raja, who you are also going to hear from in a future episode, and I have been hearing about Suzanne and Satyan for a number of years through Anna and her husband Eric. And when Anna and I were first coming up with the idea for the divine feminine and divine masculine, we could not think of two better people to talk to about this in all of its forms, how it manifests externally in relationships with other people, as well as how it manifests internally inside of ourselves. So I'm super excited about this conversation. And yeah, so here we go. So I'm going to just start off with a question, Satyan. So, what is your definition or what is your feeling of the divine feminine and the divine masculine? Um, yeah, just what is your so that we're setting the context.
I mean, they mean many things, masculine, feminine, to so many people. And I'll share the
Mm-hmm.
context from our understanding and the way we use those terms. So there's a spectrum of masculine and feminine within each and every one of us in nature, in life, in individuals, in animals, in land, everywhere. There's more masculine and more feminine energy. By feminine meaning that which is connected to the form of life, the form of existence. So, from spiritual traditions, if you look at Eastern spiritual traditions, the idea that this world that's arising in front of us, that's made of experiences, and experiences are made of, images, thoughts, emotions, body sensations, feelings, taste, textures, all the senses. So, the whole sensory domain of existence would be considered the feminine or the goddess. And so those who have more of a feminine essence, and some of us have more of a feminine essence by nature, by birth, are more associated and connected and identified with the flowering of life itself, as the light of life, as the look of love, the color of love, the flavor, the scent, the vision of love. And so the feminine within us all is always seeking and searching for the deepening of the flow of love and the fulfillment of love and the consummation of love until all distinctions fall away into oneness and just absolute unity and one love. So that's the feminine.
Mm-hmm.
What's left is the witness aspect, the consciousness aspect. Something, someone, some beingness has to be conscious of all that's arising in front of us. Who is the one that's experiencing the taste, the touch, the senses, the experiences, the thoughts, the feelings? That ever present, non changing, unchanging witness, or if you will, undifferentiated, vast consciousness, oneness, that would be considered the masculine in these Eastern philosophical contexts.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's where we're coming from. And that masculine within us in a human everyday form, those who are more masculine oriented, meaning they're more identified to the emptiness, the stillness, the void of life, their deepest fulfillment is not love. That's perhaps number two. Theirs is freedom from the obstacles,
Yeah.
freedoms from the challenges, freedoms from the restrictions. So the masculine within us is seeking greater and greater freedom to find the unity that's there behind all the restrictions. And so these two are all within us. We just have to find where we are in that spectrum by nature and then play the artful game of this rather than some doctrine based, this is how men or women should be. There's an artful game to play with these. And that's the body of what our work is about.
Wonderful, wonderful. So
Um,
go ahead, Anna?
you go ahead.
I was going to say, so is ultimately freedom and love both end up in the same place? They just have different ways of going about it?
Absolutely. And that one place is oneness, unity consciousness, rapture, intoxicating, ecstatic oneness, the pleasure of being in human bodies and lives, love making in an ecstatic way, which magnifies our masculine and feminine energetics within us for the sake of an erotic game, an erotic play, an erotic relationship. And when we magnify it to their fullest, then there's so much electrical charge between these sexual poles that when you come together, there's an excitement, a heat, a generative quality which inspires our thoughts, our feelings, our emotions, our purpose, our mission, our value. It calls upon our deepest soul's calling. And when we follow it that way, it goes far deeper than just great sex. It goes into great lovemaking and having, if you will, a way to live life that's based in truth and ecstasy.
Amazing. Amazing.
I
Anna?
love it.
Yeah.
Oh, I was just going to ask, I know that, in this day and age, we have a lot of people coming out as, asexual or non-binary or just all over the spectrum in terms of gender identification and sexual orientation. And some people feel completely neutral. So if we have a listener who doesn't necessarily identify in the typical masculine or feminine role, you're saying, I mean, I agree with you that all of us have all of this in us, different spectrums and aspects. But for anyone listening who might be triggered by those words, what would you have to say to that?
This is a very valid point. It's important and valuable to include everyone. This includes everyone. And so, for example, when I'm talking about these, I'm talking about masculine and feminine as energetic potentialities within our own being. I'm not talking about gender, and nor am I talking about sexual disposition or choice, nor am I talking about what anyone identifies with. So some of us, and it tends to be more so, and this is again, vast generalization, more so men have more so masculine energy. About 70% of men have more masculine energy. That could be a gay man, it could be a straight man, it could be if you will, a person who is fluid as they choose to be. You can also be, let's say, for example, a woman. Let's say most women I've found in my work through the years, 70% or more are more on the feminine end. Now, it could be 51%, it could be 60%, 80%, 90%, but no one is ever 100% masculine. No one is ever 100% feminine. And so the idea here is that the way to look at these, the way I like to look at them, as artful ways of playing with our energetic sexual energy, as a way of creating a craft out of it, a playful exchange, rather than, hey, masculine is this way, feminine is this way, and you should be in these stuck roles. Those roles are over. We're in a very liberated world, becoming even more and more liberated. So rather than suppress these energies, if we embrace the whole spectrum within us, learn the distinctions and learn, okay, I wish to be more in my masculine focus right now. Oh, I'm at work, I'm going to be more in my masculine focus. I'm going to go for things. I'm going to move forward. I'm going to direct. I'm going to have goals. I'm going to be in that energetic. When I leave work, maybe I need to just drop all of that and enter my feminine, replenish myself with water, with drink, with walks in the park, with dance, with music, with movement, with breath, with nature, with playing with children, making food, communing, whatever it takes to bring you into the fullness of the here and now joy of life. So wisdom would have it that we get out of the fixed roles and become more conscious of the whole spectrum. And then that's where we get to make art rather than get stuck in the old ways of doing things.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love it.
Absolutely. So one of the things that I just get right into it. We're getting right into this.
Let's go right into it.
Is that, one of the second question that we put on here, but this is also a question that I have because I think it extends the conversation, is that, you talk about, like how you can kind of play either role. And then when you're in a relationship with another person, you're really able to do that same role playing too, and kind of go into, I'm going to be in this more feminine aspect, or I'm going to be in this more masculine aspect. And one of the things that I remember I learned from y'all was this idea of being that by you deciding what you will be, you allow your partner to in turn then kind of fit the role that they also will
play.
Yeah, so it's like playing the game of polarity.
Yeah.
So there's three things that are happening in sexual energy. Number one, you are depolarizing or repelling your partner, your loved one. And that's if both of you are in the same pole. If I'm in the position of, hey, we're going to go for Italian tonight for dinner, and my partner says, no, we're going to do Mexican, then there's the beginning of two clashings, because one person wants one way, one person wants the other way. Both are being directive in that moment. That's like taking two North Poles or two separate magnets, trying to push them together. They're going to repel. So that's one thing that happens in relationship, okay? Another thing that happens is neutrality. People can go neutral. This happens especially with lovers who've been together for a long time, long-term marriages, long-term relationships, just by being in proximity. If you take two magnets, you stick them together, just over a period of time, they will start to demagnetize. The polarity between both will start to depolarize. And it's got nothing to do with the psychology, whether you love each other or not. It's just magnetism, physics. So neutralization can happen. And that happens practically. Hey, what do you want to do for dinner today? Well, I don't know. What do you want to do? Well, I'm not sure. What do you want to do? So no one is now taking lead. No one is surrendering. No one is taking direction. No one is surrendering. That neutralizes and creates a stale, flat type of relationship or moment, if you will. Now, the third thing that can happen is creating an artful, ecstatic awakening of your poles, where one partner plays the role of, hey, let's go Friday night, wear something black. I've got the kids taken care of. You don't have to worry about anything. Wear something black, bring a small bag for a change of clothes and a bikini. What? That's it? Yep. I'm not going to tell you anything else. It's going to be a surprise, my love. So it's from your heart, you create a directional lead that leads your feminine partner in a joyful, wow, what's going to happen, into the unknown with pleasure. And that is very pleasurable for the feminine within us. Doesn't matter if you're male or female. It could be my wife doing that to me. I could walk into the room after a long day's work, exhausted, tired, a lot on my mind, and my wife might go in the masculine, throw me up against the wall, take me, ravish me, and have her way with me. So it's not fixated by any particular gender. It's a playful disposition of feeling into your partner. What would bloom their heart? What would bring them exotic and erotic pleasure? What would make their hearts even sing deeper? And when you have both partners playing that game with each other, it makes for like sex, passion, and enlightenment.
Yeah. And I love it. You use the word ravishment, which I'm so excited about, because I wanted to ask you about that. Because Anna and I have talked in the past about how a lot of people we know, particularly people who identify as women, may slip into almost an exploitation. Like they're so desirous of being in this pole that they sometimes even go into almost like an exploitation part of it, if you know what I mean. Like not the what I would think of as ravishment, which is like you're occupying these poles, but more of a, I just want somebody to take control, and then it kind of goes too far because they don't have that. And
Yes.
so can you speak more about that, if that's a thing?
Yeah.
Or if that's just something we noticed?
You know, to simplify this in three stages of a state of being. When the feminine within us is in a first state of being, there's a sense of neediness. You're forgotten, or you don't remember, or you're in a closed moment. You've been hurt, a trauma has arisen, or some type of feeling of I'm not good enough, I'm not beautiful enough, I'm not valued enough, I'm not worthy enough. When that happens, there's a feeling of that goes out. It transmits from you. We can call that neediness, clinginess. You're looking to be seen as love, and you're not being seen as love, and so it hurts the feminine heart. In that moment, that type of individual is attracting the reciprocal energy in the masculine, and the reciprocal first stage masculine energy is, wanting someone for their sex, not really caring as deeply about their heart, more the old school, only the provider role, not as emotionally sensitive, more of a taking role or caretaking role, helpless and the savior, or helpless and the one who, is taking care of the house. Those are the old school models, right? And we can elevate ourselves, we can catch ourselves, we can move beyond those first stage contracted moments and move into the second stage where now there's an equality of being. It's like I'm whole unto myself. And this takes time, yearning, learning, healing, therapy, friendships, consciousness, awakening of yourself over a period of time where you go, look, I don't want to be needy. I'm not needy. I don't want to be codependent on anyone. I'm going to grow my own healthy dependence, my emotional dependence, healthy self-dependence, my emotion, my financial, my personal, my directive, that particular energetic. I'm going to cultivate and strengthen that. This is fantastic, a very powerful phase. That's the second phase of feminine maturation, of empowerment, of maturity of being. Mm-hmm. That energetic attracts the reciprocal masculine, which is on the other spectrum of lessening that old school rigidity of the male, what we would call toxic masculinity in some circles, and saying, okay, I'm going to become more open, more spacious, more fluid. I'm going to get more in touch with my emotions, more in touch with my feminine nature. So those who are in more touch, you attract, let's say, a masculine person who gets to become more in touch with their feminine nature from your deepest feminine heart, which is now cultivating masculine independence and direction. And so that makes for a second stage, 50-50, wholesome, balanced, well-meaning, well-articulated, caring for each other's expressions type of relationship. The challenge with that is after a while, that's a big leap and stage and development from the first stage.
Oh yeah, yeah.
If you hang out in it long enough, the passion starts to wane, the depth starts to deteriorate, and the life force, if you will, the evolutionary life force that brought you together, it starts to reside and go back and, if you will, go dormant.
Okay. Because there's not such a strong polarity.
Exactly. You both have sort of neutralized each other in response and in growth to the old patterns, which we don't want to live from yesterday, our parents and their and our ancestors, future past generations. So what does that make room for, right? What's next? Well, what's next is what you just said, the divine masculine, the divine feminine. And I believe it's time now for all of us to accentuate, actuate, invigorate, awaken, honor, love, flourish, express the feminine and the masculine in their full divine spectrum, and appreciating the fullness. Right now, the world has been hyper masculine for probably 1,000, 2,000 years or more. It's time to embrace the feminine, because that's where all the healing is. That's where all the feeling is. And we need to bring healing. We need to bring feeling. We need to bring in Gaia consciousness, our love of Mother Nature, our love of our elderly women, our grandmothers, our mothers. We need to bring in love of the women, our sisters. We need to cultivate love of our daughters, and all is one human family. And I believe that's starting to happen. And the more we foster and cultivate and honor that, the more there'll be greater health on this planet, for sure. Absolutely.
Yeah. Satyen, I have a question about the first, second, and if we call divine feminine, divine masculine, the third stage. Do you think that that's an individual journey and then you sync up, or do you think other people are like tuning forks? For example, I'm making this up. Let's say I was single and I'm walking down the street and I see a man, and when I'm near him, it's like a tuning fork. It resonates strongly with my first stage. But then I walk a little further and there's another man, and then he's a tuning fork to my third level, divine masculine, divine feminine. Or do you think that I originate the attraction? Like what I'm saying is, can the other person pull out these parts in me, or do I manifest these parts? Because it seems like you could easily sway between a toxic first stage relationship and then immediately date someone else and it's stage 3. Or do you think it has to evolve? Like, what is your feeling about that?
That's really a wonderful question. I believe it's both. I believe we have to do our own individual work and journey through these stages, which are happening moment to moment, but we can stabilize higher and higher as we grow and we become more conscious and more aware, and we work on ourselves. And at the same time, we're also attuning and becoming tuning forks for others. So if we know that we're both, that we have an individual journey and also the transmission that we are putting out in the world is a reflective transmission. It's like a world mirror. If I'm combing my hair and I bring my a comb to my head, and I'm bald here, so that doesn't count here. But if I, but you know, if I'm grooming myself in some way, and I expect the mirror to move first before moving my hand, it's not going to move. It'd be quite the ridiculous task to ask myself to, you know, have my reflection comb my hair. In the same way, we've got to make the movement within ourselves first for that transmission to move out. So the resonance, tuning fork, yes, as well as our individual journey and commitment to our depth, yes, both working simultaneously.
Wonderful, wonderful. So what is that? Can you tell us a little bit more about what it, so you have two books coming up that are being released. Can you tell us about them?
Sure. Well, this one is more directed to what we've been sharing about today. And it's a coffee table art book. And this will be one of
Oh, it's beautiful.
You're one of the first in the world to see this. And it's called The Path of the Warrior Sage. And it's an oracle, like a tarot. And it goes into the topics of sex, power, money, relationships, enlightenment, and warrior sage wisdoms. And you open it anywhere. And I'm not going to stop anywhere to have you glance too long. But
Yeah. Oh, it's just beautiful.
Wow.
The art has been done by my close beloved sister of like 35 years, Deborah Kasha, and the writings are by myself. And so this is called The Path of the Warrior Sage, and it's available on my website, warriorsage.com.
Warriorsage.com.
Is that your new logo, or is that just the cover art?
Yes, and there's 5 elements to this, and the 5 elements of the Warrior Sage path are power, which is represented by the circle, going from the ego's power to enlightened power. Then the heart, going from the closure of the heart to the expansion of the heart. Then there's the upward triangle, which represents freedom, or the masculine energetic of presence, claim, and penetration into the world. And then that's met by the feminine downward triangle, which is invitation, surrender, and expression, the shape of the yoni. And then the last element is the square, and the square is represented, is wisdom. So power, love, freedom, flow, and wisdom.
It's beautiful.
And so each one of these pages or shares and expressions and wisdoms are all related to that.
Oh, nice. And where will people be able to find that, on Amazon or on your website?
Go to my website at warriorsage.com.
Okay, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
We'll link it in our show notes.
Absolutely, absolutely. And then you also please share your other one as well, since you have two available.
This one is outside of the topic, but maybe of what we've shared today, but I'll express it anyways. You know, I work with leaders, business leaders, who are here to, you know, grow their companies, make a better difference in the world, and to grow their personal lives deeply. And so I've created 2 books called Transcendent CEO, and this is for business leaders to become enlightened and awakened. And it's accompanying Transcendent Culture, which is really how to lead your teams utilizing all these dynamics that I've talked about.
And for me, coming from, I talk often in my job, since I'm in operations, about how do you, like, when you have a company that feels as if it's toxically masculine, like maybe it's stuck in that first level and it's not expressing any care for its people, it's not expressing the community aspect, and so I find that so fascinating, because it is so relevant to us. You know, I mean, people say that most companies are psychopaths, right? That because they don't have that beating heart that says we have a responsibility to the people who work for us, and we have a responsibility to those who we serve as well. So that's
those companies. Those companies are dinosaurs, and they'll start dying out. Everyone is waking up. We need to take into account the full spectrum of humanity, not look at people as chattel and human resources, but look and notice us as human beings, and that we get to co-create. That's why it's called a company. We're in accompaniment with one another, and you know, we can go from chaos into coherence by applying the principles. And these principles in my book are applied in multiple companies around the world, which have gone from zero to $1 billion plus, utilizing and applying all these practices here. So not only is it possible, it's proven now. And the companies that don't apply these type of principles are going to fall flat on their face.
Oh, yeah.
Now we're in a moment of great transition. We're in a moment of great evolution. It's time to get on the bandwagon of having conscious, forward-moving companies on all levels of being.
Wonderful.
I agree.
Wonderful.
That's awesome.
Thank you so much, Satyen. Anna, do you have any final questions?
No, I'm just really grateful that I know how valuable your time is. And I just am so grateful you took time to share it with our listeners on our podcast, because I know you and your wife have helped my marriage immensely. And I think your wisdom I'm sure there's someone's ears it's fallen upon today that it will help.
Well,
So
thank you so much. I very much honor how you've lived that and brought that into your life. It always moves me. To me, that's the highest reward is when I hear how you're implementing and learning and, you know, expressing even a portion of whatever I have with my wife. And if I may share one last thing. So after a decade, you know, Suzanne and I gave our acclaimed Sex, Passion, and Enlightenment workshop internationally to tens of thousands of people over the years. And we let that go about 10 years ago. We put it in, if you will, retirement. And over this COVID time, we've had, like, I don't know how many people have reached out saying we could use some relationship support. So I want to announce here today in public that we're now releasing our brand new Sex, Passion, Enlightenment weekend intensives meant for couples. And the next one is going to be in Valentine's Day of next year. And you can find all of that out on my website at warriorsage.com. And you do this out of the comfort of your own home, and you rent a hotel for a weekend and make it the best date night that you've ever had.
So it will be, I know you used to do them in Hawaii or other places as a group, but it'll be through Zoom this time?
This particular, so we have couples retreats that we do in exotic locations, but
Okay.
this will be our foundation work, applying and implementing and really embodying all these teachings that I've shared with you today.
Yeah.
Putting it and getting it into your body. So it's beyond just an idea or a vision of what can be possible. We're going to put it into your body through experiences where you can
cool.
And that's just over a weekend. We can really you all can really up level your relationship. So I'd love to invite everyone inspired to check that out. And we've made it very, very affordable so that any couple can come to this. That's our mission. We really want to have couples.
Oh, that sounds amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, because in the past, the traveling was always the issue because we had small children. So, going to Hawaii or whatever was hard to plan. But something like this is extremely helpful for people with small kids, having that instant access. So
you heard it right here, folks.
Awesome.
You heard it right here. Everyone's invited to take their relationship out of these early
out of stage one. Stop being a stage one clinger.
And you know what? No matter how exotic or if you will, altruistic it sounds, I want everyone to know that Suzanne and I came from very humble, simple origins, very Catholic, very Hindu, simple, not understanding any of this. And we've come to embody this. And so what we're going to be sharing at that Sex, Passion, and Enlightenment weekend is how to bring it into your own life in your own unique way to bloom it wherever it is. So it would be our joy to serve you in that way.
Wonderful.
Awesome. And if everyone listening loved this episode, you're going to love the one where we interview Suzanne, his wife, and hear from the woman's side on all of this.
Exactly. Satyen, thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for your energy and all of your wisdom. We cannot thank you enough.
Thank
you. It's been my joy, Christina, Anna, all my love.